Hi, Year 10. So a quick reminder, next week, remember, when we return to school, you'll be doing an end of unit assessment on the American West. But don't panic, this will be an open book assessment. And this week we are giving you the opportunity to pre-plan each question. This question or this lesson looks at question 2. You can then have your plans to work from during the assessment, as well as your book and your revision guide. So on to the next slide. Okay, so the second question on the American West paper is always the narrative question. In next week's exam, it will be write a narrative account analysing the key events of the gold rush in the years 1848 to 49. You've got lots of information in your exercise book about this, and you've also got a PDF attached which has our revision guide page that covers the gold rush, and you can see a copy of that on screen now. So remember, the key ingredient for a narrative is it has to have a clear start, it has to have a middle, and it has to have an end. And throughout, it has to be linked with connectives, and it has to be fully detailed. So if we go on to the next slide, this will be the planning and preparation activity to get yourself ready for next week. Okay, so remember, when you write about the gold rush as a narrative, you have to have a clear start to the narrative, you have to have a middle, and you have to have an end. You have to have an end point, a finally. Now, if you look at our little diagram, this has a little starter sentence for how you could begin it. So the first key event of the gold rush was, and then obviously you've got the middle, which continues with the idea of connectives, building the story, explaining how one thing leads to another. And then obviously you can signal to the examiner that you're coming to the end of your narrative, the final stage, the end stage, by the connective finally. So what I need you to do is think about what's going to go into your narrative. So we've got a gold rush planning grid to complete. Now, this should be completed in bullet points. So you've got to think about the key evidence and information you're going to put to narrate the start of the gold rush. So the who, the when, the where, the why. Then obviously the middle section will be all the consequences of the gold rush, the more immediate consequences. So that could be law and order, it could be migration, it's all of those things. And then the end is just how the gold rush ends, perhaps who gets rich, who didn't get rich, just some concluding comments. So what I need you to do in this lesson is reread your information on the gold rush, reread the PDF document, obviously put a heading question 2 preparation, put your gold rush planning grid into your book and start to populate it with bullet points for the start, the middle and the end. Okay, off you go, Year 10, and that'll prepare you for question 2 for next week.